Hello, I'm Laara Copley-Smith, and I have two ladies. I have Fiona Adams, who is doing the series with me on women and money, and we have a very talented artist, Anne from Tasmania, today. And it's delightful for you to join us today and share some of your story around money with us. So we're going to be looking at how some of your money story has played out, and also about the dynamics of you running a business and operating with a partner who has a different dynamics, and how that, you know, has become is a disruptor in a sense. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks. And thank you both for inviting me along to talk a little bit about this. It's something that I do need to revisit, but also I have noticed in just recent days the difference between my partner's values and my values around money. So it's good to revisit that. I grew up with a family that valued experiences more than money. And so we went off to America when I was 4 in the late 60s, and we stayed there for 10 years. And we lived what my father considered to be below the poverty line. We grew our own food and we ate experimental food stuff so that we didn't have to go shopping for food. That all the money that he made as a healer was spent on our 3-month-long summer holidays so we could go and learn about America. That we wore secondhand everything. And that I was brought up with this basic need that God provides everything. So you don't even ask. You don't ever pray for anything except for healing. That's the only thing you ever pray for. You don't ask for anything because everything is met. All needs are met. And while it's true we never went hungry, I've got terrible dental hygiene. And so as an adult, it's kind of played out that I've got this magic money sense that when I want something, because I don't need anything, because if I want something, magic money will suddenly appear and I can just go out and get it. And I can't, to this day, I can't sort of budget because I don't know when money's coming. All I know is when I actually identify a need or a want, a want, though these days I'm much better so I can call it a need, that money will appear. I run a business with my partner. We're glass blowers. Apart from goldsmithing, it is the crafts. You have a furnace that runs 24/7, 365 days a year, and costs a lot of money and a lot of resources. And we make work which costs a lot to produce and even more to purchase. And the more I value myself, the more value I place on my work. And so the more money we get. And this is all part of my beautiful healing. But running a business with someone who has a different sense of value around money, he's definitely more cautious. He is always tucking money away for a rainy day. And whenever we have a business meeting, we have Money Mondays. It's always, how are we going to find a new gallery? How are we going to sell more work? What is this? What is this? And it doesn't seem to be very enjoyable from his point of view, whereas I'm enjoying myself more these days. COVID has been very good for us in a sense that I haven't spent money on international travel and even getting off the island. And those are things that are quite expensive. And it meant that I focused more on the money part. I still value time and experience more than money, though. And even though we have more money than we have ever had before in my whole life, my partner is still worried about it. And it seems like the more we have, the more he's worried about it, which means there's a greater distance between my sense and his sense of what's going on for us as a business. And I'm doing a lot of watching, and I'm doing a lot of just listening to his reality. And I'm doing a lot of, I guess, asking for assistance, because I don't want to meddle in his values and his belief systems. But I also kind of want to, we have money to ask for help. We can pay somebody. And so just quietly, I'm just sort of putting my feelers out there. And 2 people have suddenly turned up. And are they going to be the right kind of help? Well, that'll be interesting to see.
Can I ask, Anne?
Yes, sure.
Do you put your money, like it's all in the business, do you actually take a wage, or do you negotiate how much you take out of the business?
Interesting, yeah. Once upon a time, we had, we would take an allowance, but we never, we gave that one up around 4 years into the business, because we didn't have enough money to actually take the allowance. So we've been running the business along the same lines as we have 23 years ago. All the money goes into one account, all our expenses come out of the same account. When we were trying to save up to buy our own place, we took money out of that account and put it into a deposit builder account. And all of our money from the government, all the government grants that we got for COVID has gone into that deposit builder account. And that offsets the investments and things like that we have. I tried long time ago to heal my relationship around money. I thought that it was important for me to grow up around money. And I involved myself with a narcissist and got involved in a cult scenario, which totally tainted my whole view about what I invested in. And to this day, I still have to really work around my investment properties that I have. Yeah.
And so it's very useful, though, for you to have a partner who is, I was going to say squirrel, but puts money aside, because if you're totally opposite, you're going off in that direction, and there's nothing to harness you back. And you're a creative woman, and as a creative myself, I know that once you go off in a direction, there's like nothing that will bring, it needs a disaster to bring you back.
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah. I struggled with doing needs and wants when I was saving up for my first investment property. So I needed $10,000, which was a 20% deposit back in those days. And instead of just gently squirreling away money, I put away everything, and I ate bread and butter and maybe pickles and cheese and spinach, and that was it. And I did that for a year, and I saved $10,000, and my total income for that year was $19,000, and I worked 5 jobs for that $19,000. So there was no, I can put money away when I need to, but I don't know how to do it in a way that is healthy. And I certainly I could do that when I was 28, but I certainly can't do that now that I'm 55. My body has nutritional needs that I need to look after, and nor do I want to be that uncomfortable. I lived in sheds and in very inexpensive accommodation that didn't have heating and had chunky electricity, that sort of thing. So it took me a long time to balance out comfort and needs and wants and spending on those sorts of things. To this day, I can hardly buy new clothes. Everything I have is secondhand. Yeah, I make up a story to suit that secondhand clothes I can buy a greater variety. And I don't have to be fashionable, that I can wear clothes that express me. It's just a story that I make up just to justify me going shopping at a secondhand store. Yeah.
It's actually quite interesting that you say that, Anne, because I've always experienced you as, you know, the dressing. I've always been impressed with your dressing and the beautiful shawls and wraps and bits of material that you've had over the years. So it's interesting. You've done it.
Yeah, flamboyantly, absolutely. But I come to the truth of it, and it's because I still don't. It's that value system again. It's that I value other things more than I value buying new clothes. Yeah.
And also,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Sorry, Laara.
No. Yeah.
No, there isn't anything wrong with that. It's what's important to you, but it's the balance between the needs and the wants, isn't it? Because there's a strange dynamic to do with things that are nurturing and comforting and that you need, and the wants, that the wants are more important than the needs, although what we're hearing is that's coming much more into balance now.
Yes, absolutely. And here's something that I've noticed too, that while I can sell my work for great amounts of money, I struggle selling my time. And my time is more valuable to me, and yet I really just give away my time. I've got 2 massage tables here that I don't need anymore, but I'm willing to give them away, even though I spent good money getting them, because I'm shy about asking their value.
Oh, that's back to that whole asking. God will provide. You can't ask for anything, therefore you can't ask for money for the massage table.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Shows you the childhood and how it impacts so much an adult.
Yeah, God provides everything, but you're not to ask for anything outside of God's perception of what you need.
Yes.
Or there's something.
You can't ask for money for the massage tables. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. I went to a Christmas party, and I organized Pass the Parcel, and there was somebody who didn't have an Anglo-Saxon background there. And when it came to her passing the parcel, instead of taking a layer off to reveal a present, she ripped the whole thing in half and took all of the presents. And I when the mouth was open, like this, and I was filled with this sort of admiration as well as outrage, because why didn't I think of that? There wasn't anything in the rules that said you had to have one thing at a time. She saw that you revealed the presents, and so she just ripped the whole thing in half. And to me, that just illustrated the amount of conditioning that I've had here around being the nice girl and following the rules and just doing what is expected around getting and giving. Yeah. It's just wonderful.
And in that party, when she ripped it all apart to reveal it, I mean, what did other people think about that? Do you know? Because probably would have shocked people.
There was a Korean gentleman there, and I think that he didn't understand the rules, and so he looked on curiously. This woman was Sicilian, and her mentor was there. focusing on her part of the game. So I felt like I was the only observer. My partner was there, but I think that I have no awareness what he thought. And afterwards, I spoke about my the extreme of my admiration. It was extremely shut down and judgmental, and then it was extremely blown open and like, I want to be like that. Yeah, so I think there's total mixed bag of reactions around there. Yeah, and I must have known something like that was going to happen because I made sure everybody had a present, just in case. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. I must remember that if
Yeah.
I'm ever doing Pass the Parcel.
Yes, yeah, because I mean, what a way to really shake the foundations of sort of conservative thinking. Yeah, yeah. You've given it to me, I'm taking it all. Yeah. And I've had this experience again just recently. Somebody arranged to have their boss come in, and I said, you know, you can make a bead, and if you want to, you can make matching beads for earrings. She was there for 3 hours, and she finally ran out of gas on the canister. She wasn't going to go. She wasn't going to make a bead. She was going to just take as much as she could. And I was like, wow, yeah. I didn't ask her to go. I didn't put a limit on her, but she saw a crack, drove a bulldozer in, and that really, I reckon, that really shakes people's foundations, that sort of stuff. Because certainly I'm open to that. I've still got a lot of old belief thinking, but if I'm going to change my way of thinking around my value and how I spend and how I receive and how I give, I've got to remember that I'm going to be shaking some foundations, and just to buckle up, not to change, just to buckle up.
Great sharing. Have you got anything to say, Fiona? Any questions?
No, I was wondering how that related to you not being able to ask for your needs, because this woman just took her needs and she was there for 3 hours making beads when you'd said a couple of beads, and I would have been a good girl and made a couple of beads and said, here you are, thank you, and off I go. And I was thinking that would have been the total opposite to what you're used to about not asking for your needs and wants.
That's it. So I think for the first time, all of a sudden I'm seeing the road not where I want to go. I mean, I do. I'm like, yeah, I want some of that juicy. I'm probably being judgmental and probably saying it's greed, but it's like the absolute fleshy enjoyment of just taking everything. And I can actually see a bridge now between where I am now and that sort of, and I can choose my moderation now. Yeah.
Yeah. So you might have to go to that juicy bit first. You might have to go to the extreme first of taking 3 hours and using up the whole canister, and then come back into the middle of I can ask for my needs and wants.
Yes, I think even Pia Melody says I can't go from low self-esteem to moderate self-love or reality. I actually have to go from low self-esteem to grandiosity, and then I can find my middle moderation point. Yeah, so I feel like that's just what you were saying there. Yeah, I've got to experience the whole thing before I can find moderation. Yeah.
And that sort of happened when you experienced the saving the $10,000 to buy your investment property. You went from saving a moderate bit, but you just went full on. And now you've gone into moderation, that if you were doing that again, you wouldn't live in sheds or whatever, you would save over a period of time. So you've managed to go from that to that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't work 5 jobs. I'd actually find a job worthy of my time. Yeah.
Awesome.
And like I was saying before we started recording, the more I value myself, the more money seems to just come into my life. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we
Love that.
yeah, the valuing yourself and that self-care and self-love is such a big part of this whole mummy journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure is.
It's the kingpin to a
Mm.
great degree for women, certainly.
Valuing yourself.
Thank you for sharing. I think
Oh,
that,
well, thank
you.
yeah, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Feels complete for now, and maybe we'll come back together again at another point to share some more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anne.
Thank you both. Yeah.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Anne.